It's been 4 months since your last bite. You may fool yourself into digging out some frozen kelp, but you know that dinner actually sits comfortably 200 miles away. It's so frustrating. The last thing you need right now is a huge male looking for trouble. At first glance, the Arctic feels brutally devoid of life, though a select group of animals have figured out a way to thrive. But the real force here works quietly underfoot. Every winter, sea ice starts small and delicate. Then it grows over millions of square miles.
How is it possible that this freezer holds the key to our entire planet?
Like a lung, sea ice breathes life into the Arctic every year, in a cycle that impacts the climate across the globe. This is the story from the edge of the Canadian Arctic where it all starts.
My name's Bertie, Gregory, and I'm a National Geographic wildlife filmmaker.
Everything is at stake. We're all waiting for the big freeze. Temperatures are starting to drop in the Hudson Bay. But it needs to get a lot colder for the salt water to completely freeze over. Until then, the seals are just too far away. And the hungry bears have no choice but to wait.
This guy's a big bruiser, and he's coming in like all the other polar bears. They're coming to the water's edge, ready for the big freeze, but right now the ice isn't quite ready, and you can see him kind of falling through and stumbling under his weight. You know, you spend 4 or 5 months on land starving, not eating anything, and you know that as soon as that sea freezes, that's your fast food buffet is ready. So like this bear, I'd spend a lot of time stood out on the water's edge looking at it.
The Arctic hosts our planet's most brutal snowstorms. But today, weather is the last thing this bear needs to worry about.
So we got this big male on the left approaching the even bigger male on the right, so we can be about to get some action.
Oh, they're just battering each other.
Well, because we've added an unnecessary amount of dramatic music, you'd be forgiven for thinking that these two guys are in some brutal fight to the death. But actually, at this time of year, males don't really have anything to fight over. You know, there's no females in heat, there's no food. And instead, they've got a bit of a bromance going. And now, I mean, look at them. After hammering each other, having a little snooze together.
Although they're solitary most of the year, when males finally meet up, they can be really playful. They often pair up with a sparring buddy, because in a few months, they'll be on the ice fighting in deadly battles over breeding rights. But polar bears are incredibly well adapted to the challenges of these hardships. Their enormous 12-inch wide paws are like snowshoes, spreading their weight on thin ice. Their short, gripping claws and soft foot pads also prevent them from slipping. The bear's narrow head and long neck allows them to grab seals through their breathing holes in the ice. And if you have to pull a 600-pound seal out of the water, then a massive set of canines with set-back premolars allow you to bite down deep. But hands down, their key adaptation is their incredible thermal insulation.
If we switch from a normal camera, like this camera and the camera you're looking at me on now, to a thermal camera, you're now looking at me in heat. So if I take my glove off, you see how my hands and my face are bright orange. That means I'm losing heat to the environment like there is no tomorrow. I'm so badly adapted to this place. Whereas if you look at the bear, he's that dark purple, almost black colour. And that is because of that thick, thick fur, which obviously I don't have. My biggest challenge here is keeping warm enough, whereas his is keeping cool enough. Hang on, Steve. You seen that bear over there? He's cooking him pretty good.
Hey, buddy. You need to start thinking twice about walking in.
There are very few animals that will actually try and hunt people, and polar bears are one of those animals.
Hey, slow down. Slow down. Hey, we're not an easy meal. Hey, hey. Slow down, hey. Slow down. Slow down. I'm gonna hit you with a rock. Hey, close enough. No, no, no. No. There you go. Sit down. Sit. There you go.
Well, Steve told it to sit and it sat. Unbelievable.
Hey, go play with your friend.
This bear will just have to wait for the big freeze to get his dinner, along with the others, all stalling for time along the coast. The most powerful force in the Arctic starts small, really small. So fragile that it could break in your fingertips. It grows inch by inch, almost when no one's looking. But once it starts, there's no stopping it. The water hits 28.8 Fahrenheit, and the big freeze has finally arrived.
And finally, what was thousands of miles of liquid has turned into this rock-solid ice pathway across the ocean.
Polar bears have depended on the big freeze for millennia. The problem is that our warming climate is delaying its arrival by more than a day each year. That means that this generation has lost at least a month of hunting that previous ones relied on. We've got to turn this around and save our planet's most vital cooling system. And off he goes. Slowly but surely, our bear starts his trek out over the ocean, for as long as the ice will let him.